Welcome to the Recover You podcast. I'm Kylene.
And I'm Patrick.
We are a couple in recovery
From sex addiction
and betrayal trauma. Together, we share our story to encourage you on your journey. It's here that we talk about sex addiction, betrayal trauma, mental, emotional, and physical health, faith, and anything and everything needed to recover you to your most authentic self that God created you to be. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Recover You. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Kylene. Sunday afternoon. What do we got going on today? I guess we're recording a podcast, aren't we?
Yeah, we had a lot going on in the morning. Busy.
Yeah.
Boom. And
so it's entirely possible that T-minus 5 minutes after we
nap time.
Stop, it might be nap time.
Yes. Well, I have a funny story that is completely unrelated to the podcast, but might make people giggle a little bit. So therefore, I'm going to share it. Thursday, I went to see Frozen, the musical, with my niece, our niece. And it was so adorable. It was so cute and so fun. And I took her to dinner before, and I was insight into my brain. I had a couple things going on before the show, right? Like I had a chiropractic visit, then I went to pick her up, then we went to dinner, then it was the show. So in order to be prepared, you have to think about the end game. We should apply this to addiction. To be prepared, you have to think about the end game right up front. And so I should have brought the tickets, but I was busy in the afternoon and I left so far away from the actual show itself that the tickets didn't register in my brain and I didn't bring them. Thank goodness for box office printing them for me. But anyway, I'm on the way to the show and I'm thinking, oh no, I forgot the tickets. What are we going to do? And we were at dinner and I said something about it. And I said, I made the comment, that's my ADD brain. And my niece goes, Aunt Kai disease? She didn't know what the acronym meant. So she just randomly threw something out there. And Aunt Kai disease is what she came up with.
I think it fits. And
I know. I was like, I think that's what we should call it from now on. That is now how we describe my brain.
And clearly you hadn't articulated a vision for the day, which is why arrived at the final event of the day.
Right.
Wholly unprepared.
I didn't have all my guardrails up.
Yep.
I didn't have all my...
Yep.
So I said to her, I said, I hope your brain is more organized than mine because sometimes it makes life a little difficult. And she goes, I think my brain is organized, but my room isn't.
Classic. Yeah. So
we're going to help everyone's brains be organized today. See how I tied that in there? Totally randomly.
Yeah, that works.
This is confusing. We're doing a 3-part series, but the second part took too long. So this is the third part of a 3-part series, but not really. It's 2.5.
Too bravo.
It's part 2 of the second part of a 3. Anyway. Okay, what we're talking about today is I just caught my husband looking at porn.
A season is a part. We're on part 4.
There you go. I just caught my husband looking at porn. Now what? That's what we talked about last week. And we talked about very tangible, like early on, like what are you doing? You're going to be connecting with someone that can support you through this. You're going to be sharing your story. You're going to be setting up guardrails, putting blockers on the devices, setting some boundaries, those types of things. And then the second part that we wanted to address there, just like we did in the first part with the addict, was sort of the mental emotional preparation. If you are just now in this phase and you just found something out in the past couple months, like just talking through some of the things to be aware of mentally and emotionally and relationally through this process. Yeah. So that's why it's a part two, because we talked so long last week about the tangible stuff. We didn't even get here. So here we are, part 2.5 of the 3-part series.
They'll figure it out.
You've got it.
Yeah.
All right. So the first thing to know is that your emotions are going to be all over the place. Mm-hmm. And that's very normal. And here's the thing that I want to really, really normalize about this. We are in a trauma response before we understand that it's a trauma response. Your body runs in a natural way, and your brain has a way of thinking and processing and trying to protect you. And that happens regardless of how educated or non-educated you are about it, because every betrayed partner, more or less, there are some differences, but we all follow the same trajectory. Now, that started happening to me before I had words for it. So I didn't have the education that I have now that I teach people and put in the What's Next course and all that kind of stuff. But it started happening to me. And then I started learning. And then someone put the word sexual betrayal trauma. And I was like, that's what it feels like. It feels like a trauma. It feels like a betrayal. That's what it is. So I started putting words to it. And so your brain, the reason it's kind of all over the place is because it's trying desperately to protect you. It's trying to find safety. Now, one of the annoying ways that it does that is looking for the danger. So it's trying to keep you safe. So it's actively scanning your environment to look for danger, which is why sometimes, we're talking about considering, do you need to sleep in separate rooms? Like what level of separation are we talking about to kind of get our feet planted, that sort of thing? Because when your brain says, this person hurt me, it's looking to find safety and we're trying to create stability in the environment. And so our emotions are all over the place because this is a very unusual trauma. It's extraordinarily unusual because it's with somebody that you trusted. It's with somebody that's in your home, usually in your bed at night, very close quarters that you've created a life with. It's an intimate partner betrayal. And that does something different to your body. Because you're so confused. You're like, I trust you, but now I know I shouldn't trust you. I thought you were this person, but now I know you're not that person. I think you're capable, but I have no idea because I had no idea that this is going on. So you sort of waffle between a lot of these really, really conflicting emotions. And something that is I think I would love at some point to maybe delve into this a little bit more, but something that's really unique about betrayal trauma is normally when you experience a traumatic event, a normal part of recovery is removing yourself from the environment that is traumatic. So you can't do that necessarily with intimate partner betrayal. You're in the same home, at least in the beginning, whether or not you move towards a separation at any point, like everybody's a little different. But if you're moving towards reconciliation, one of the most unique pieces of this is that you are in the environment that caused the harm, around the human that caused you harm. And that is so hard for betrayal recovery. And so it's not something that we can't heal from. It's just to be aware. Your emotions are going to be all over the place. And there are very, 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 very valid reasons why. Because you are going through a traumatic experience, a very destabilizing life experience. And it's very normal to be like, I think I love this person. And then the next day be like, what? Like you betrayed me and I can't trust you and I'm angry, right?
Yeah, I think, as you're talking through this, the way it shows up is, I want to be close to this person. I don't want to see this person. I want to be close to this person. And then 5 minutes later, I want this person out of the house. I need to be hugged by this person and validated, even though I feel
and that's what's so hard about
feeling validated by them.
Right. And that's what's so hard about it is that you do need a hug from that person. Mm-hmm. Because if reconciliation is on the table, the person that hurt you, if you are going to heal, has to become the person that helps you heal. Yeah. So it is like it's all over the place. And your body normally, when you've been hurt, goes away from the thing that hurt you and it heals and it protects and then it comes up with, how it's going to process this. You're doing that in real time with the danger. And that is hard. And so it is, yes, I want a hug. No, yeah. I don't want a hug. I need a minute. And so I just want, if someone feels, because some people may go through this in natural body trauma responses, and they may feel, like, is there something wrong with me? Especially when somebody does the work and gets into recovery pretty quickly, and then we're dealing with a lot of the trauma responses 6, 9, 12 months later. Sometimes that can be like, oh, like, is this me? Am I not healing fast enough? No. This is, I cannot emphasize this enough, and I know I talk about it a lot in the podcast. I know I say it over and over and over, but it really is not something that I can overstate. It's such a deep, such unique trauma that like it does take us so much time. And so if you are one of those people that it takes time and your emotions are all over the place, you're normal. And again, that's also why we encourage, like, please work with someone so that we can help normalize and also help you stabilize and help you through it. And for the addict, your response to these times is really huge in that. Like, don't pout when there's a rejection, a possible, let's say rejection, and don't put
requirements on. Just understand that this is part of the process. The way you can calmly and consistently react to or show up in these changing environments that can change 8 times in a day is really helpful in that healing thing. So don't be a baby. Don't start pouting because you don't, go get a hug that night when you got a hug in the morning. You know what I mean? Like be
You've got to
mindful
understand that
of
this is normal.
Yeah.
This is so normal.
Yep.
Yeah. And I would say for the betrayed partner too, be aware of what emotions are showing up and also get curious about the ones that are not. So I would say anger is probably the most common emotion that betrayed partners struggle with. Some don't, but some do. And I think sometimes will particularly struggle if they have a faith background and view anger as a bad thing or as a sin. And then they will also struggle if they see that someone's doing the work, they will feel bad. Like, I'm not allowed to be angry because I see someone trying. And again, with the trauma aspect, something that we have to understand about this is you did not have the ability to respond in real time while things were happening. You found out after the fact, and hopefully now they're quickly getting into sobriety and the behavior has hopefully stopped at this point. But this is the opportunity your body has to respond. It did not have that when it was happening. So whatever emotion comes up, if it's anger and they are, 6 months into recovery and this is the first time that you're feeling that emotion, that's okay. It's a normal process. It's somewhere in your system. And so if that's not showing up and you move through and you're like, man, I just never, ever got upset about this. I would get curious about that. Maybe talk to your practitioner, your therapist, your coach, and maybe just dig into that a little bit because it's a really normal response. A lot of betrayed partners, if we sort of, without judgment and without stories in our head, allow the emotions to go through us, for the grieving process, for the healing process, most betrayed partners are going to feel all of them.
Right.
And so if there is a spectrum of emotions that you're not having access to, I'd get curious about that. But if you are feeling all of them, please know that's a normal part of the grieving. It's a normal part of the recovery process. Now, we always talk about there's limits in how we express them, but feeling them and acknowledging them is important.
And I think for the betrayed partner, just a word on the best practice response that you should be receiving is, I understand your anger. I caused this. I'm really sorry about this, as opposed to, why are you so angry with me? I've gone to 3 days worth of groups. Like, once again, don't be a baby. Be there for your spouse. And so that's the type of behavior you should see. You should see non-reactive behavior as the person, because the addict is recognizing the harm they caused.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the second thing in terms of emotions, mentality, relationships, if you feel like there's a possibility, if you feel like reconciliation is something that you want to pursue and see if it's a possibility, then the biggest thing that you have on your side, or that I would encourage you to give yourself, is time. Because all of those emotions are going to come in that first year. And if you see that someone is getting into sobriety, they're being proactive, they're really interested in it, they are supportive of your recovery process, they acknowledge, they're taking responsibility, and you have a lot of hope. Like with Patrick, my thinking process was very much, I felt like I deeply knew you. I very, very quickly saw that this was, that you were distraught over this. There was no, I wasn't seeing you protect it at all. I was seeing you say, I hate this, I'm sad, I'm broken, I need help. Like, I saw a broken person who needed help. So then, knowing who you were and some of your patterns in the past, I knew you were capable of saying you would do something, following through on it, and doing whatever it took. So I felt like all of those were there, and then I just needed to sit back and wait and see if that was true after I connected you and said, hey, go here, connect to this group, go to this therapist, right? So I got involved, I set the boundaries. But that's sort of what gave me the idea of like, well, maybe reconciliation is on the table, but I need to see, I have reasonable information that you're capable of this and that you're choosing it, but then I needed to give it time. So when we see that there's there's a demonstration of behaviors from the addict that says there's reason to hope that there's a future here, then we want to give it usually the like general recommendation is a year because so much happens in that year and you can gather so much information. It's a good amount of time for them to get into move from sobriety to start getting into basic recovery. And it's a good amount of time for you to see, can they get past the sticky 3-month and 6-month marks that tend to be speed bumps for them in their recovery. How are you doing in stabilization? How are the two of you relating? Like, you can kind of begin within 1 year to see all of these patterns. Are they headed in the right direction?
Well, and are they being proactive in their healing? As we've said before, when the addict has no impulse control, so you have to be that impulse control for him. But at some point after that first 90 days or so, impulse control has come back. So is the addict being proactive in recovery things, or are they just passively asking you to tell them what to do? So that's an important part of that process too, because that will also tell you, okay, how interested in recovery is this person? Because recovery is like
one thing to know is
forward.
You cannot be more interested in their recovery than they are. You absolutely cannot. It will drain you, and you have your own trauma to deal with. So they need to demonstrate that they are towing a line. You hand them the information, you hand them the education, you say, this is what I expect. This is what recovery looks like. These are the steps to get there. They have to take action on that. They're an adult who's now been handed the tools. They have to make a decision. And that is a hard place to come to, I think, in certain circumstances. I cannot care more about your recovery than you do. I cannot believe more in your future and your ability to accomplish it than you do.
Right.
Because if I hold this vision of, well, everybody is capable of transforming, but then you're not giving me any actions showing me that you're interested in transforming, I can't keep holding that vision. I know that it's possible, but you have to demonstrate that you're interested in doing that. Otherwise, I'm just kind of throwing out this thing in the air there and saying, I know that you're capable. I know that you're capable. I'm going to hold on to the fact that you're capable, but the reality is showing me that you're not interested. And that's really, really important. We're not going to get there in the first 2 months, the first 3 months, unless it's like really dramatically. I mean, you might if he's very dramatically saying, I'm not interested. But sometimes more often what we see is like, sometimes addicts will say one thing, but then their behaviors will do another, and that's a little confusing. And so you're not going to necessarily know the answer to this the first 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, but what you're looking for is consistency. What you're looking for is that proactivity. What you're looking for is a trajectory of changed mindset, of more empathy, not less.
And I can't emphasize this enough, 3 to 5 years. So if they come to you at the end of 10 weeks or 6 months of therapy and say they're good, they're not good. I can guarantee you they're not good. They have to keep going. 3 to 5 years. So that doesn't mean that you're
3 to 6 months are like the earliest speed bumps. They're not the only speed bumps.
That's right. Yeah. So you just have to see them want to continue that process, to continue to go. And a big part of that is going through their own healing, and at some point giving back, being able to speak about their addiction to those that it's relevant to speak to. These are all facets of change. And so, you can get past the behavior relatively quickly, but the deep healing work takes 3 to 5 years. And that's what you want to see them doing, is engaging and recognizing that timeline.
And, if you want to talk about that healing work, go 2 episodes back when we talk about the addict, the work that they need to do, who they need to connect with, right, in the beginning to get all that work done. And always check out, I feel like I plug this one all the time, the sobriety versus recovery episode that we have. The sobriety versus recovery really talks about the difference between the two. And it's really, really, really important that is something that registers quickly. There's a big difference between just not engaging in the behavior and doing the deeper work to actually know, I will never do this again. And here's how I can tell you that with certainty, because I have these checks and balances. I have this accountability. If I'm stressed, I have this coping mechanism now that's healthy. These are my go-to patterns instead of the old pattern. If you cannot, like with surety, walk through that, there's work to be done. Okay, so the third thing is sort of along the lines of what we just said of giving time. I'm going to say you're giving time as long as you see that trajectory is moving towards progress, that you're seeing hey, they've gotten into sobriety, or they're getting into sobriety and the trajectory looks better and better and better and better. They are being more empathetic, not like that. All of those look better, right? And so if that is happening and the trajectory is good, we say, okay, give yourself a year to sort of flesh it out, to get some stability, to kind of before making really, really big decisions. But counter to that, I want you to have an internal timeline for change. I want you to have an internal boundary. You may not necessarily communicate this one out loud, or you might, but the internal timeline is what happens, what is your decision-making process if you see something like he's unable to achieve 3 months of sobriety in the next 6 months. If you get to 6 months and he can't be 2 or 3 months sober by the 6 month mark, what's your internal boundary there? What is your timeline of grace for this situation? Because there are so many, I will tell you, it's been almost 3 years of working directly with betrayed partners now. Like, most betrayed partners are the most grace-giving, the most forgiving, the most patient people. And every strength that we have can also be our weakness. We need to have, if we offer grace, if we offer compassion, if we offer empathy, that needs to be paired with a really strong boundary. That needs to be paired with a really strong expectation of change. So that's sort of that balance of, I'm not going to be controlling and micromanage everything, but I'm also not going to just not be involved and, say, okay, everything's good, but I'm not seeing any change, right? There's something in the middle. And for that, we need to know what our internal boundaries are on our own timeline.
Yeah.
So set an internal timeline for change. So if he's unable to achieve 3 months of sobriety in 6 months, how do you feel about that? What's your response going to be? Like, thinking through ahead of time, if this, then that. Same thing, like, let's say he gets into sobriety, but he has a habit of putting you down, right? Or there are things that are happening relationally that just don't improve. And you're thinking, well, he stopped the behavior. How much time should I give for this, right? So thinking through, what are the things that you need? The question is, what do you need to be in this relationship long term? What are the behaviors? What are the changes? What does the recovery look like? What do you need to feel safe? And then what do you need to stay in this relationship long term? What are the requirements there? Get really, really clear on that and put those timelines. Because if in 6 months you see zero change, you see a lot of attitude, you see a lot of blame, then do you need to wait for that 1 year mark?
Right.
What is your internal boundary there? And the way I say it is like, my button popped, right? So when does your button pop?
Yeah, I think, if you think about the addict's behavior is born out of how they're medicating the pain. They're afraid of feeling the pain. So then you take away the medication, the inappropriate medication, and it may show up in different ways. It may show up as anger. It may show up as another addiction, possibly substance abuse or something like that. And those are, you're absolutely right. The reason it's 3 to 5 years is it's a holistic healing of the whole person. And that's why it's important, because you can work through, okay, what's the root of the anger? What's the root of the pain? What is all of those things? And so it takes time. And so you should, I'm not going to tell you to extend the timeline. I'm going to say, just be aware that it takes time. But I think you're right. It's like, okay, if the addiction has been replaced by massive anger outbursts,
or that's been in existence in the whole time.
Right.
And I think there's something like there is typical, okay? There's typical human beings who get sucked into addiction because of pain, but they really love their partners and they are committed to change. And they are just like, I love you. It's not your fault. I will fix this. I might make mistakes. Like, I'm going through a withdrawal. I get a little impatient. But I apologize, right? There's that. Okay. That's like, quote unquote, typical recovery pattern. That's like, you can do this. The two of you can navigate this. And the chance of reconciliation might be particularly high in a scenario like that. Because you have two people really committed and respectful of each other. But if the person who is an addict is also an abusive partner, That is a different world. And it is a different level of recovery. There are different boundaries and expectations there. And there are a lot of people out there who have an addiction on top of being verbally abusive and condescending to their partners. And so that is a totally different scenario.
Yeah. I agree. And the recovery work should heal both of those. They should. It really, really should.
The recovery work gives people the tools so that they can heal themselves. The person has to be invested in wanting to change, which means they have to think it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
They have to actually recognize that I don't want to engage. I don't want to yell at my partner. I don't want to put them down. They have to recognize that. And then, same thing with the addiction. They have to believe compulsive masturbation is wrong, or pornography is wrong, or that it's infidelity, right? Like we can't want the change more than they want the change. Patrick just gave me a thumbs up. Nobody can see that. Okay, so, that's a little bit of a hard topic. But when we're talking about sort of jumping in here, what I would say to the betrayed partner, because this episode is particularly to you, early on, I would say listen to your gut. Don't gaslight yourself if you're getting gaslit by somebody else. Your gut knows the truth. So is this someone that's capable of change? Have they demonstrated that? Are they kind to you? Are they respectful to you? Have they always been like that? I felt like going into this, I was like, you're a good person. Our relationship is good. This is like a horrible, evil, dark thing that if we can pull it up from the roots, maybe we have a chance of reconciliation. But if on top of this horrible, evil, dark thing, you would not be interested in recovery, or you would be mean to me, or you would somehow tell me it was my fault. Like that is a different, right? So who is this person? You've been with them. You know who they are. Trust your gut. Trust your intuition.
Yeah.
Anything else to say around that?
Nope.
Okay. So setting that internal timeline. The fourth thing is, and this is really hard. We're kind of hitting some hard things here. The fourth thing is to commit to what is right over how you feel for the betrayed partner. Because sometimes when we set boundaries, the consequences to them stepping over those boundaries are difficult, even for us, even for you. So an example would be, let's say a betrayed partner has like a really healthy libido, and they really want to set some boundaries in terms of physicality. Well, that's not fun. It's not fun. It's unfair, like we talked about in the last episode. There's a lot of things that happen that are unfair. Like we have to change our life, and we get, less of the things that maybe we want for a long period of time, or, whatever it might be. But if we know that that's going to help deepen the relationship in 5 years, if we know that that's going to help solidify sobriety the first year, whatever it might be, or because they've crossed a boundary physically and we need some separation, right? Those sorts of things. We want to have the integrity that we are asking our partner to have. And so if we set a boundary, we need to hold to it.
Yeah.
And that means that we need to commit to what is right and what we have decided and what we have said. And we need to have the integrity that we want them to have. And sometimes that means that things are uncomfortable for us before it gets better.
Yeah. And I think But it's really, really helpful for the addict. The addict has to understand what the consequences are of behavior and slips and boundaries. That is all really, really important, because if you do that deep work at the beginning and kind of redefine fidelity between the two of you, and then that person decides to step over that, there has to be a boundary, or else you just
otherwise, I say if we do not
it.
have a consequence to them stepping over that, then it's just a wish. That's the wording that I use. A boundary means that we are ready to respond.
Yeah.
A boundary means if I set a boundary with you, it is what I will do in response to your behavior.
Right.
If you yell at me or you blame me, I will leave the room. If you look at pornography, I will sleep in a separate room, if whatever it might be. Boundaries are usually about what I will do in response to you not respecting me,
Right.
and what I need to feel safe.
Yeah.
And it's really important. Now, when somebody is participating in boundaries, it can go a little bit the other way of like, hey, like with you, I was like, you're sleeping in the other room. Like, I'm not going to sleep in the basement. You're the one that did the bad thing, right? But that, of course, takes your buy-in.
Yeah.
Another example of committing to what's right over how you feel. And now I'm not talking about budgeting here, assuming that is not, a disqualifier. This is just an example, but an example of doing something hard when we've said that this was the consequence is like when they have stepped over a boundary and the consequence that you have stated is that they need to move out of the house for a period of time. Mm-hmm. Like one of the things that's really difficult is when people are co-parenting and they get to the point where their boundaries have been stepped over so many times that they feel like they have to move through with this one. And it really is, I have seen where it is a very, I don't want to say effective in terms of you are controlling your partner's behavior, but it is a very effective boundary in terms of it gets the message across that you're serious. And I have seen that happen where someone is like, this is my last, like, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
This is just the only thing this is the only option I have left, trying to avoid, permanent divorce or whatever. And they ask their partner to move out. And it communicates what you want it to communicate. And if somebody is willing to do the work, it often prompts them to do so.
Yeah, that becomes a good catalyst.
It's a catalyst, yeah. So again, you cannot control your partner, even if you tried. You just can't. They will do what they want to do. Mm-hmm. But you have to, like, constantly through this process is going back in and going, what do I need? Do I need the space? And usually someone being outside of the home is once they have stepped over so many times, you're like, what else do I do? Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's, clearly not getting through. It's not working. They're not taking it seriously, whatever it might be. And the point here of committing to what's right over how you feel, if you've gotten to the point where this was a line that was drawn in the sand, it was communicated, it was stepped over, we've got to do that hard thing. Even though co-parenting is hard when this type of a boundary comes in, that sort of thing, that's just an example of we've got to stay in our own integrity. If we have decided and we have communicated that this is our line and they step over it, what are we going to do?
Well, and once again, I've used "stop being a baby" about the addicts through this thing a couple times. Like, if that happens and you get kicked out of the house and there are little children at home, be upfront and say, "Hey, I can come and bathe them, or I can put them to bed." So and then I will leave right away.
Do you want me to get them on the bus to school in the morning?
Right.
Do you want me to put them to sleep at night?
I can make lunches for them. You know what I mean? Like don't just disconnect and be like, well, she kicked me out of the house. I guess I'm going to go watch HBO. You know what I mean? Because that's, once again, that doesn't show a lot of good commitment. Mm-hmm. And you're still a parent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, and the last thing that's sort of been woven throughout everything that we've talked about, we're talking about this being what, I just discovered porn. What do I do? We've talked about your emotions being all over the place. We've talked about having an internal boundary or internal timeline for change, giving it a year if you think that they're really taking responsibility, committing to what's right, really holding true to those core values that you get clear on. And so throughout all of this, the idea is this is a time to observe your partner and see if they're really willing to put in the work. Mm-hmm. This is really, once you as the betrayed partner who's not living in addict brain, you're living in normal brain, you have your cognitive logic center online, you've connected to your resources, you've connected them to their resources, you've gathered some information, you've laid out the recovery map. Mm-hmm. This is a time to see what they are going to do.
Right.
And I cannot emphasize this enough. Trust their behavior.
Yep.
Ignore what they say for the most part. Mm-hmm. Watch what they do. Yeah. They will tell you. They will tell you very quickly. They will tell you within the first 6 months.
Yep.
So be willing. Work with someone if you need to. Be willing to hear what it is that they're saying with their behavior. To see what it is that they're doing with their recovery actions or not. And then have a plan. Mm-hmm. Know exactly what your response will be if you do not see them moving towards the goal.
I think, it's something just to keep in mind is you may see the recovering addict get really passionate about things, so much so that they're engaging in activity that over time is maybe not sustainable. So like, let's say they're reading books of the Bible like every day and stuff like that. It's really great. It's good for the addict to get into that and really kind of connect and deep think and stuff, but it's not sustainable over the long haul. So, a passion at the start does not necessarily mean like a profitable way at the finish. So what you want to do is you want to see, it's okay to see that, but also what does it balance into? Is there still a lot of meaningful, targeted, deep recovery work happening, but they're also present enough to help. So you may see, a little bit of a waning of that much passion in there, but it should just be by a slight amount because it has to be balanced with, going to a job, maintaining, sleeping at night, all these, it has to be balanced with real life.
I think it's like take advantage of the high of sobriety, do all the things, and then pick the things that are the most effective and keep doing those almost indefinitely.
That's right. Yeah. Some of these tools are lifelong tools.
Yeah. That's how you do the deeper work.
Yeah.
That's how they are eventually able to answer the question of, well, how do I know I'm not going to relapse? Well, because I'm checking in with my emotions every day. And when I'm sad, I talk to you, or I talk to my therapist, or I talk to my group, or I talk to my accountability partner. And I have these, I use these somatic exercises or these breathing exercises, or I take a walk, or I journal, or I do XYZ. Like I have a plan. And then I know every single time that I do this, I feel so much better afterwards. And then my brain is in a totally different place. And then I don't even want to relapse. Or I don't even think about it. Maybe it doesn't enter my mind, but the reason it doesn't enter my mind is because I'm proactive about all these other things, right? So it's really utilizing those tools. So yeah, I think for the betrayed partner, it is, one message that I could give you, especially during the first couple months, definitely through the first year, is please give yourself some grace. Like I said, so many betrayed partners are really kind, really forgiving, really self-judgmental people who go, am I doing enough? Am I kind enough? Am I forgiving enough? I'm struggling with forgiveness right now. Is there something wrong with me? I'm 3 months in and I just can't trust him. What do I do? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so early. Like there's no rush to forgive because you haven't necessarily seen him long-term take responsibility and change the behavior. There's no rush to trust. Your body will tell you. Your body will not lie. It will tell you when it's ready to relax. It will tell you when it's ready to trust. And then our logic, our brain is sort of what does the seeing and the observing of that, and our body does the feeling of when it's true. And one of the things that hopefully if you work with a coach or a therapist or somebody specialized in this field, hopefully one of the things that they will be supporting you with is trusting your body, trusting that intuition, because it will tell you.
Right.
It knows when a boundary has been crossed. It knows when you know the truth and your partner is gaslighting you. It knows when your partner is actually sober. Like now when we have conversations, like if a question comes up, progressively through the past 5 years, it's less and less and less and less and less and less and less a body response and more like a little blip of a thought in my mind because my body really trusts you at this point. And so it really knows if a thought comes in, my body doesn't even respond because I'm like, oh, I know like on a deep nervous system level that things are fine, but I might just ask a question out loud and just get that verification, right? And so that will happen when safety is provided. But we cannot out-supplement, outrun, Band-Aid solution, out-spiritually bypass. We cannot deny our nervous system. We can't shove it down hard enough. We cannot shove it down hard enough. It will show up. It'll show up in pain, physical pain. It will show up with anxiety. It will show up with depression. It will show up with sometimes even disease is associated with long-term stored trauma. It will show up in some way if we are not willing to unpack. And that goes back to what we talked right about at the beginning, which is let those emotions come up, respect them, get curious about them. it's a really uncomfortable part of the process, but knowing that this grief that I'm feeling is part of me moving through the grief, it's important that I feel it, can help just that little bit in that moment to know that it's okay to feel this way, to know that I need to express this anger and I'm upset and I'm resentful and I am so angry that you did this and I didn't do anything to deserve it. And that's a normal emotion. And knowing that it's okay to say that, and it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to have all of these things happen. It's okay to be, and that is, I think the permission I'm giving you is that's actually healthy.
Yep.
It's scary. Just like we want the addict to feel their emotions so they don't medicate it, we cannot engage in the same behaviors and deny them. Right. We cannot shove them down. We cannot avoid them. Otherwise, we're doing the same thing that we are insisting that they heal from. We have to be willing to feel our emotions. And I wish I could lie to you and tell you it's great to feel our emotions. It's not. It's not fun, but it is worth it, because do you want to feel them now for an intense but shorter period of time? Or would you like them spread out over the next 3 decades because they're unprocessed and they keep showing up in these wounded patterns? Yeah. And so that's the uncomfortable part of recovery is both partners have to be willing to do the same thing. If I want you to be living in integrity, I have to be living in integrity. If I want you to be honest, I have to be honest. If I want you to respect my boundaries, I have to hold my boundaries. If I want you to engage in facing your emotions, I have to face mine. So we are held to the same standard. And I think that is a good but really uncomfortable, sucky part of this because we didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
But 5 years in, it is worth it.
It is.
Let me go down, down, down. This is horrible, horrible, horrible. It really is. Like, I want to kind of wrap it up with a little bow. This is not fun. If you are listening to this because you just found porn, just trust yourself. Trust yourself. Nobody knows your partner. Nobody knows you like you. Nobody knows the reality of your life like you do. Nobody knows if they are capable or if they are gaslighting behind closed doors like you. Trust your intuition. And then find safe people to talk to and trust them with your story so they can help give you feedback from a place of not being emotionally invested in it. That is so important because all of us could be the smartest people in the world, and it's hard for us to see our own stuff. It's so hard for us to see our own stuff. And I was talking to a coach the other day that I just started working with for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I talk to my clients and I say really, really similar things. And here I am talking to this coach, it's just, we all need that. Everybody needs that external feedback of, someone that's non-emotionally involved, does not have the same stories and filters in their head, and can say, hey, have you thought about this? Or, hey, what about this? Or giving you permission. Sometimes people have said, hey, you just gave me permission to set a boundary. You just gave me the permission that it was okay to say no. And I'm like, yes, I will give you that permission every day. So if I can say anything, it's to encourage you that you will be okay. You will make it through. This is probably going to be one of the most difficult things. So if that's how you're feeling about it, please know you're not alone in that. You're very much not alone in that. It's really, really hard. It's really, really scary, but you can do it. I believe that you're capable. I believe that you will move through it. And if you do need any support, please reach out. There's links in the show notes where you can book a free connection call and we can see if working together is right. Or if you need referrals to other practitioners, I can certainly offer that. Or you can look for a betrayal trauma specialist somewhere in your area or whatever works. But please connect with someone so that they can help you navigate the next steps.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to say to a betrayed partner the first couple months right after discovery?
I mean, I hate to say it this way, but it's like, don't be afraid to kick their ass, figuratively, not literally. Don't be afraid to kick their ass. You know what I mean? And they need the boundaries. They need to see the emotion of the pain they've caused. Don't be ashamed of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you've got this wound where it's like, well, if I show anger, then that means that I'm blah, blah, blah. No, you've been hurt. You've been hurt 100%. This was not your fault. It has been perpetrated onto you. And there's reasons behind it, right? A lot of us as addicts have a lot of painful things in our past, and that's true. And we're going to get a chance to resolve those things. But we have also hurt you. And so don't be afraid to view it that way.
Thank you. Every day is a new opportunity to choose health and freedom. Make that choice today, and we will see you next week. Woohoo! If you're listening to this, it means you've made it through an entire episode. Part of recovery is spending time engaging in healing and self-growth activities. We are thankful that you chose our podcast to be one of those activities today. Make sure you reward yourself for that accomplishment. If you've enjoyed this episode or this podcast, we would love to hear from you. Please take just a few moments to leave a rating and review, letting us know your experience with Recover You. We not only love hearing how these episodes are helpful, but ratings and reviews help others just like you who are searching for recovery information and support find the podcast too. We can't wait to hear from you. See you next week.